Hello, I'm Richard Vobes. I'm the author of Splidge the Cragflinger, and in this video I wanted to tell you a little bit about the story of Splidge the Cragflinger, and this is the first adventure, the Royal Tournament. So what's it all about? Well, let me tell you first of all the background of the story, the area that it takes place. It all takes place in the land of Gud, which unfortunately always rains. It means everybody's got to have umbrellas. The weather is grim, and it's a dire place. The city of Gud, Gud City, is ruled by a king. He's a big, fat, gross, huge, lumbering king who can barely walk, and unfortunately he has let the whole kingdom come to rack and ruin. The streets are messy. There is dunghills all over the place. It's sort of back in the time of, I suppose, the 1600s to the 1800s in England. It's a bit like that. So you've got people throwing their piss pots out of the window into the street. You've got butchers cutting up their pigs and chickens and hens and all their meat and then chucking the offal into the street where it gets washed away, usually down into the River Gud. So you've got this sort of higgledy-piggledy city made up of timber-framed houses with wattle and daub infill. Sometimes they've got thatched roofs, some of them have got slate roofs, some have barely any roofs at all. The place is tumbling down, and into this land comes Splidge. He's a 12-year-old boy, he's a young boy, and in Gud, when you reach the age of 12, you've got to get a job, because if you don't have a job, well, you know, you're going to starve. So people don't live very long in the land of Gud. By the time you reach 20, you're getting over the hill. By the time you reach 30, you're almost old. By the time you reach 40, you're probably in your box. So at 12, it's very important that you get a job. And like in history, kids would have been apprenticed to their masters, and they may have been chimney sweeps, they may have been carpenters, they may have been labourers. They would have done mostly manual job, particularly if they were poor. They may have been out on the farms, working, tilling the land. They may have been doing all sorts of different things, but in Gud, one of the main jobs that people would have been responsible for was making umbrellas, because it always rained in the land of Gud. So Splidge sets off at the beginning of the book to get a job, and he knows that there is a big notice board in the market square where people who are advertising for work will place their advertisements. And there's one right at the bottom, small one, almost barely noticeable, with a wax seal that takes his eye. What can it be? He picks it up, he has a look. It's from the palace. Now, the interesting thing is you would think that a job working at the palace would be what everybody wanted to do. But as I mentioned before, the king is big, he's fat, he's arrogant, he's difficult to work with. He's not particularly a nice person. And everybody who works at the palace is really old. And he doesn't have any money. So Splidge, desperate for work, decides he will apply for the job, and he sees the king. He sees this grossly fat king, and he persuades the king that whatever this job is, it's applying to be a cragflinger. Well, Splidge doesn't know what a cragflinger is. He has no idea, but he pretends, oh yes, of course, I can fling crags, I can do whatever it is. And he ends up with this job flinging crags. A cragflinger, but he doesn't know what a crag is. And then, one day, as soon as he's got the job and he moves in, he discovers what a crag is. And he has this whole adventure with this little crag, which actually, I'll let you into a bit of a secret, don't tell everybody, but a crag is a small mop-like creature. It's sort of stringy hair, and it's got two button eyes and this little nose. But he discovers the nose is quite magical because you can pull the nose out, a bit like a telescope. And when you fling your crag, when you throw it, you can really get the momentum going and lob this thing really far. In Gud, there is a national sport, and the national sport is crag flinging. There is a tournament where the best crag flingers in all the world come together and pit their wits against the royal crag flinger. But who is the royal crag flinger? Splidge suddenly realises it's him. Now, you've got this tournament, you've got this young boy who's learning how to fling crags, and then enter the evil Baron Frogmorton. He is a beer baron. He brews the only beer that is allowed to be brewed in all of Gud, and it's called Baron's Bitter. And it's a horrible, sloppy, nasty, thin, vile beer that nobody really likes, but nobody's allowed to brew anything else, so they have to drink it. And the Baron wants to win the royal tournament, but it goes deeper than that, for he has a plan. He has a plan to take over Gud. He wants to move the king aside, and he's got a plan to do that because he is, in fact, the half-brother of the king. And he realises that if he can make the king go completely bankrupt, he could take over. And when Splidge finds this out and learns of the plan and his sinister way he's going to do it, it's up to Splidge and his new friends, Snotty, Doreen and the Crag and a few others, to stop the evil Baron. It's all contained in about 320 pages in this incredible book called Splidge the Cragflinger, The Royal Tournament. Check out www.splidge.co.uk. The book is available on Amazon, on lulu.com, on a Kobo, on an e-reader, at Barnes & Noble. You can have it in paperback or in digital format, in an e-reading format, or as a PDF on your iPad, however you read books. So go and check that out. It'd be great as a present for a friend, for a present for your children. I'm giving it the big sell here because it took me a while to work it all out. But this isn't the only adventure. There are more. Yes, you've got the second book called The Purple Death, and I will tell you about that in another video. And then a third book that I'm working on now is called The Isle of Gid, and that contains pirates and high seas adventures with Splidge and his friends. So check it all out, Splidge the Cragflinger, The Royal Tournament, and send yourself on a marvellous adventure. Thank you for watching.